Soils provide us with many benefits. In this video we hear why our soil matters to people responsible for outdoor recreational activities and also people who have a strong interest in outdoor recreation.
My name's Paterson. I'm the Natural Environment Technician for Allotments at Glasgow City Council. I'm based in 231 George Street, but I spend an awful lot of my time out on site visiting allotment associations, individual plot holders and checking up the sites are running as smoothly as they can. Our soil is important to us in allotments because without the soil there wouldn't be allotments. The soil needs turned, it needs looked after, it needs cared for, it needs fed to keep it in tip-top condition. Our plot holders spend an awful lot of time ensuring that the soil is worked properly, that it's weed-free, pests are kept to a minimum, and they do that by following proper horticultural techniques, giving the soil a rest, crop rotation, feeding the soil through the winter, and making sure it's as healthy as it can be for when the spring comes and it begins to warm back up again. Not many people are aware that within 1 teaspoonful of soil there is more life in that than there is human life on planet Earth. Many scientists will tell you there's about 10 billion bacteria within that 1 teaspoonful. A soil isn't grown overnight, a soil's a living being within itself, and it can take an awful long time for it to be built and properly until it feeds the plants and therefore feeding us. Who benefits from allotments? I would suggest everyone, from the individual plot holder up through associations to the wider communities. Everyone's getting access to a bit of fresh air. You've got family groups coming in, you've got specific interest groups coming in, and you get groups with particular needs coming in as well. School groups, adult learning groups. It's an area where an awful lot of people can come together, learn from each other and share their experiences with each other. Particularly people that have never looked after a soil before, learn from our older generation who are quite happy to pass their knowledge down through to the next generation of, if you like, the soil custodians.
I'm Claudia Erber. I'm a soil ecologist and I work for the Scottish Environment Protection Agency. As a scientist, I know every soil is different and it can change in a small scale, even in a garden. But it's not about to change your soil, it's about improving your soil. This can be done by adding organic matter to it. And there is a saying now that you shouldn't feed your plants, you should feed the soil. But this is not really true. What you do is you feed all the creatures living in the soil, feeding on the organic matter. And then while they feed on it, they release all the nutrients. These then can be taken up by the plants. And the beauty of this is that the soil organisms are most active when the plants need most of the nutrients. So I don't have to worry about the right timing, continuous feeding, it just happens on its own. Plants not only need nutrients, but they need water and the roots need oxygen. And while these soil organisms are crawling through the soil looking for food, they create pores, especially the bigger ones like earthworms. They also create the magic ingredients which we call humus, which is a part of compost, which is in principle nothing else than the cast or the poo of the soil organisms. They also bring in the organic matter from the surface and mix it and combine it and glue it with the mineral particles, and all this together really creates a crumbly soil which is able to hold water for periods of drought, and on the other hand is able to drain excess water during heavy rainfall. And in addition, you have a natural army which can combat any pest and disease you have in your soil. At this time of the year, end of autumn, beginning of winter, I also protect my soil with a thick layer of organic material. This is really to protect the soil and insulate it from the coming cold, so that the soil organism can go on and do the good job they are already doing. So for me as a gardener, I know a healthy living soil is really the foundation for beautiful and healthy plants. But maybe as important, it is also really supporting a lot of more species, because the soil is often the start of a long food chain.
Hi there, I'm Kenny Auld. I'm an Access and Recreation Advisor for Lomond Trossachs National Park Authority. As an Access and Recreation Advisor, I'm out there to help communities, partner agencies develop all types of recreation for the health and economic benefits, whether it's low-level walking, high-level walking, cycling, and whether that's long distance or mountain biking, all ability access, whether that's wheelchairs or allowing kind of families out with the prams. From the mainstream kind of recreation types to the very niche recreation types, we're there to help develop those and allow communities and visitors to enjoy those more and enjoy the landscape and the ground around them. Across the park, soil plays a very important part for recreation. People wouldn't necessarily notice that soil was, but horse riders demand a really different type of soil on the surface of a path, for instance, to let them go gallop and canter at different rates, whereas all of, say, a wheelchair user or a road cyclist wouldn't like that kind of path surface. So across the park we design paths and work with communities to put different kinds of recreation where there's different types of soil and what suits. You work with what's there already and what the appetite for recreation. So around villages where there's low gradients, putting in kind of really stable type of path or a really good surface so that wheelchair users, families on bikes can use those. And obviously at the far end of the scale in the real upland areas, working on a far different type of soil, constraining the path lines so that you get good drainage and that walkers' feet, 40,000 people going up Ben Ledy every year, hopefully they're not making a damage because you've designed it well with the landscape, you've worked with the drainage, you've worked with the culverts, you've worked with the soil so that people can enjoy going up and down and they don't notice the soil around them but yet they're enjoying it.
My name's Philip Graves. I'm from Strathblane, just outside Glasgow. I've been up here now since about 1985 and I've been hill walking ever since. I particularly like going out in the autumn as a walker because of the colours obviously and the leaves are falling off the trees, and you do see a vast range of habitats and landscapes, the big mountain landscapes, but if you look beneath your feet you see a fascinating range of fauna and flora. You get an impression also of the amount of carbon that's locked up in these soils, how fragile they are. The key thing is that you keep the path when you're walking through an area of fairly fragile soils, particularly some of the peatlands and some of the upland areas where it's easily eroded by heavy rainfall. And you can see that in some of the fine examples of the walks in Scotland where they've put new paths in, because if people realise why they're being persuaded to keep the path rather than walk along the edges or take shortcuts, I think most people would keep the path and it would protect the surrounding soils.